Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. You find everything about me, scan the QR code, or go to roycolin.com. If you're looking for virtual assistance, go to va.world. And I've started my SKOOL community to help podcasters, whether you're an existing podcaster or want to start. I have a lot of content. And my guest has a fantastic SKOOL community. He's back again every month. Thoroughly look forward to it. Please welcome Peter Wilson.
Hi, great to be back again. Always happy to have a chat and spread all of the news, what's going on in today's crazy world.
No, exactly. I suppose because, last time we were talking, you were saying you had a lot of trips coming up, and I know just from pre-call there, we had a chat. So you might kind of update people what's going on in your life.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest trip I've done was over to Austin in Texas, which was, I can't even remember now. It's been recently. I think it was September. Was it? Yeah, I think so. Towards the end of September, which was a great event for me. It was like a week of work, though. It wasn't like going on holiday. I literally was working from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. every day, but it was in a nice environment. What it was all to do with AI and apps and working with all the different types of AI tools that are available and how you can actually develop your own tools as well. It was a mixed bag of people from all walks of life, but the top guys were like NASA scientists. A lot of them, these guys that were helping and passing on the knowledge that we're involved with, have been selling these, AI companies or products for like millions and millions of dollars. So well established in that type of business, that world. So, I gained a wealth of knowledge, well immersed for an entire week in just like nothing but research and learning. And that's the way I've always done things as well. It's just like, look, if you're going to go and do something and learn something, then, what you have to do is just fully immerse yourself in the entire experience. It's pointless. Well, all right, sorry, it's not pointless, but the way I feel and the way I see it is if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it as big as I can. So I went there and it was just like full on all AI working on the plane. It's like a 10-hour flight on the plane. So I was trying to actually get a lot done anyway. And I was actually building my own AI agents like on the plane, because you can get internet on the plane now. It's incredible. It wasn't the best, but so I managed to get like a lot of work done like that. But then when I got there and we're discussing things and showing things, I scrapped it all, right, and started from scratch. It was like, wow, no, this is not good enough. And then since then, I've developed a couple of more apps and keep going back to the beginning, still involved with this massive group of geniuses. And like learning so much and building so much. And I'll be very soon launching our first public app, shall I call it, which will be a full AI agent come app. And that's coming up very soon. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so I mean, the thing about Texas, have you ever been, or at least in Austin, Texas anyway, it was in towards the end of September. I can't remember if it was October when I came back. I honestly can't remember, but the heat is ridiculous. And these people, when I was talking to them there, they went, "Oh, it's cooled down," and it was unbearable. When I first arrived, they had like a day. If you to just be on my own. So it's like, right, okay, there's a hotel, there's the pool and everything like that. I couldn't sit by the pool. I mean, I went out with my laptop. I thought I'd get some work done, even in some shade. The laptop got so hot within half an hour, I had to take it back inside. The heat was unbearable. It was ridiculous. So yeah, that's not a place to go for a holiday. I was asking the people, like, like, I'm not talking about you standing here like talking to me, but like say if you watch the cowboy films and think if that was true, I wasn't trying to get on their nerves or anything. I said, but in reality, why the fuck would anybody stop here? And go, "No, this is a good place to go build a house in the middle of this desert where it's so bloody hot, it's unbearable, and I can't stand even here," you know? And they were like looking at me as if I was mad, and they didn't answer, and they just walked off. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, there is a big river goes through it, the Colorado River, and so obviously there's water supply there, but a mile away from it, it's horrible. It's just desert upon desert and desert. It's like, so what are you doing here then? This what it just doesn't make any sense. Which makes we believe even more then, like, all this history and the story that they put up about the world, or like definitely the US is a load of bullshit. No way did all these cowboys just appear there and start building up these houses and literally, in the middle of a desert with like move with 3 inches or something. There's something gonna fucking kill you, right? Be it a snake or something else. So, like, you know what I mean? It's horrendous. It's horrible. But and the homelessness. I know this has got nothing to do with AI or anything, or like,
Yeah, but it's your experience of seeing somewhere else. Yeah, because I mean, I've seen videos. I think it was in Philadelphia. A guy was driving around. He was driving for 30 minutes, and you're like the zombies because they're on this fentanyl and stuff like that.
yeah,
And I was like, holy shit, this is bad. So it was bad there as well. Yeah.
very bad. Yeah. So and horrible to have to walk. I mean, the hotel I was in, it was like, what was it again? I think it was like a Holiday Inn by somebody, you know what I mean? It was clean, it was basic, had a swimming pool, which, like, just like I say, I went and sat out once, and I'm not staying here. It's too bloody hot. It's horrible. But just the next block down, within like 5-minute walk from where I was to was just queues of homeless people. Um and they were all hanging around this area. There was a lot of police there as well, so there obviously was issues regularly, but there was this massive big building, and they called it, I don't know what it had written on the cooling room on the door. I was reading the door. I was like, well, what is that? It was like, literally, it's the only place they can find with air conditioning. So loads of homeless people go there just to go in where there's air conditioning. Right. And you got to think how, I mean, it's so uncomfortable just to walk down the street in this heat. And then you can go and get a glass of cold water, right? In there, we've got water coolers, come and have a drink. That's what written on the door. And then around the other side, it was a massive big building. That wasn't, huge buildings. And then the next building all on this one block. And they used to hand out, I don't know what stuff. I don't think it was drugs, but like, it was like, either clothing, food, medication. So they queued up in the morning for it, But like, got like a big flyovers going, like you'd see them from the hotel, and the shops were on the other side. So you had to walk underneath them, and it was like tiptoeing past the syringes underneath the flyovers, and a lot of them sleeping up on the concrete. I feel terrible for all of them. It's just think, well, there, but for the grace of God go I. But yeah, it's just to see it is just so depressing. And this is supposed to be the richest country in the world and the most advanced country in the world. It's horrendous. I mean, I know you get a lot of homeless in England, even in Newcastle here, going through the town, the city centre is quite depressing. Feel sorry for them, but the over there, when you see it, you see it. I mean, it's like literally towns of homeless people. It's insane.
And it's on a massive increase, and it's all orchestrated. And obviously, like with the opioids and stuff like that, they got people addicted. But it's like the city then kick out people because of property tax and stuff like that. People lose their dignity, so then they rely on alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, and then they resort to crime just to survive. And it's all orchestrated. And then the city is like, how do we solve, homelessness? And all over the world, as they cause it, governments and the city cause it by actually taking the dignity from people. Because there's times a big company moves out and people lose their livelihood. There's no other jobs. And then they're just kicked out in the street. And it's like, unless you've got family or somebody to actually help you. So the whole lot of, and it costs more. That's the sad part of this. Like, it costs more between the crime and some of them going to prison and everything per person than if they left them in the house and kind of let them kind of get their life back together.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you just seen like so many of them, just like a lot of them couples, and they're sleeping just on some of them not even cardboard, just lying on the concrete, lying on the pavement. and a lot of them got dogs as well, got their own dogs. And we were talking about like having your dog there, and these poor dogs, let me know, are still like completely, loving their owner, lying next to their owner, thinking, well, that's my home. You know what I mean? Loyal to them. But poor things, man. It's just like, and you want to give stuff to, but you can't give to one without the others.
Yeah, they'll all start
Literally
coming up.
talking about, a mile of bloody people. I'm not saying, I always do try and give, but like you can't do it when, you'd have been probably mugged by the time you got down to the bottom, or if you'd have to give them a penny each, just to, the amount of money that you would need to give them. So such a crime for that, to see that. But like you say, yeah, it's like organized, maybe it's just because there's way more people in those cities than there is in the UK cities, but it's still bad enough here when you see it. And actually, like last year when I got stuck in Dublin, right, for a week. It was like last January, which feels like a lifetime ago now. And there was a massive storm, right? It was at the end of January. I'd been to do a conference in January. I had nothing with me. I didn't have my laptop. I didn't have anything. I had a mobile phone, but I don't put shit on my mobile phone. I don't have like Facebook on or communication. I don't have it. Just in case I need emergencies, speak to Janine, that type of stuff. So I had no way of communicating, apart from that with the direct people who I would need to. And I got stuck. I didn't even have enough clothes. I just had one set of clothes for the one night. And, we got stuck in Dublin. I was watching the airport get fuller and fuller, thinking, this is weird. And then they just went, right, all the flights are cancelled. Everyone has to get out. Just kicked everyone out into Dublin. And so I got stuck there for a week. Couldn't get a flight out for a week.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, there's worse places to be, but, apart from when you're sitting there on your own, you know what I mean? So I had to go out and buy clothes and stuff and everything. It's just like, it was mad. But there was loads of homeless there as well. And I was watching that, like the Garda, right? And if they were standing in a bus stop or sitting in a bus stop, the guard will come and throw them out the bus shelters.
And this is just for the listeners in America, Garda are the Irish police.
The police, yeah. Sorry, yeah. And they would throw them out the bus shelters, even if they were just sitting there. I thought, oh, come on, this is ridiculous. It was, it's quite bad.
Even in a lot of places, even the benches, they made the benches that there's just two seats and no middle part so they can't sleep. They put spikes on loads of places. They don't even allow them to sleep on somewhere with a bit of shelter. And you're going, like, they've no dignity anyway. And now you're just making sure, you want them to be sick, that they can't even have a roof over their head? Like, underneath the bridge, they've got all spikes and everything. So a person can't even go to sleep underneath the bridge just so they won't get wet.
I know. Yeah. It's absolutely just catastrophic, really, isn't it? And such heartbreaking when you see that type of thing. But it was a lot of it in Austin. And then you look at the other buildings, though, and like these, like, I mean, I think they're ugly as what you could expect. You know what I mean? I love looking at like old buildings and like the Tartarian style, and everything is thinking, well, we didn't build that, but then you see what we are building, think, well, that's shit. Great big glass and concrete structures. They might look like, dazzling, but like I'm saying, you see them, think, all that money that's getting spent to build this building for who? Probably a bank, right? And then you got all these people sitting there like completely penniless, nowhere to live, nowhere to go or anything. It's absolute insanity. But then they're always trying to make even more people homeless, aren't they? That is the actual attempt. Even in this country, the banks themselves have got massive targets to become some of the biggest land or landlords in the country, right? So like Lloyds and Barclays are now targeting to be massive landlords. So when they're repossessing homes now, instead of putting it onto the market again and selling it for pennies on the pound, they keep them. Right? Because they're looking to actually turn, which is why when you tie it all in and start joining the dots, you're thinking, why is it that, there's an escape route right? I used to be into like buy to letting and like landlord and everything like that. Had properties all over the country. Lost everything in 2007 and 8. Like as did a lot of other people. In that crash and everything. But now, like, they're making it so that it's such stressful and ridiculously expensive and difficult to rent out once you actually have the property. And like anything buy to let, you're not allowed to use anything against, set off against tax or anything. And then they want to tax all of the income you get from renting it out if you're doing it the correct way, you know. But then you think, well, why is that? You know what I mean? Because they're trying to push it all to the corporations.
Yeah.
So the big
buying it like
corporations,
pennies on the dollar.
yeah, it's a big corporation. Well, like, the banks are just repossessing it and then keeping them because they're going to rent them out. So they're not going to put them back in the market to, like, oh, well, everyone's got the right to own a home. Remember Margaret Thatcher? Right? Yeah, well, you all should all be, we'll sell all the council houses to you, because everyone should own their own home. Yeah, right. Okay. They just wanted rid of all of the actual council houses so that nobody would have one. That's what it was. Put them all into like a private accommodation. That's what the plan was all the way even back then. But people don't see that. It's like, oh, isn't she so good? No, not really. She's a twat. She even stole all the free milk off the school kids. I mean, it's like that's what they call her, Margaret Thatcher, the baby milk snatcher. Right? Back in when she first started, she took all the free milk. Not that you should be giving kids milk anyway. It's disgusting stuff. But, back in the day, all the kids got free milk at school. She stopped it all.
Yeah, I remember getting milk in school when I went to school. We got, but it was kind of the one that you see cream at the top, not like the milk now that just gets pasteurized. But we're talking about like the homeless and the crash because I got wiped out as well. And I'm not sure because you were talking about Dublin. There's the Irish presidential election that's on the 24th, I believe, of this month. And all of them have dropped out except for two cronies. And one of them, Catherine Connolly, apparently was working with the banks, getting all the people kicked out. And, that's the choice. And I've never seen anything like this. Everyone is posting spoil your vote because there's nobody else allowed come in. I know Conor McGregor, not that he'd be good, but nobody was allowed get on the ballot unless you got kind of 20 councils to vote for you. So what it does is it keeps the top political parties always having control of this, but there's no choice now. The two are two dangerous people. They don't even answer questions or anything like that. I don't know, you're keeping your eye on that, but I'd say we're going to see more spoiled votes. That's if they actually show it. They're supposed to, because usually they tell you the statistics. I'm seeing a lot of the people that have massive following saying, spoil your vote, spoil your vote. They're all going to just register, not my president.
It won't matter anyway, because they've already decided who it's going to be and who the next one's going to be in another 4 years or whatever it is. I mean, they've got it all planned. That makes no difference. Voting is not real. If voting really made such a fantastic difference, do you think they'd let us do it? No, would they?
I haven't voted. I can't remember 30, I don't know, 20 odd years. I realize that. And same with the marching and everything. It's like, unfortunately, it sounds great, but I've never seen anything happen with the voting or with the marching. And just on the marching, I mean, we saw there was, I don't know when it was. It was kind of when you were away, I suppose, wasn't it? There was like 3 or 4 million and then the papers were saying 110,000. But has anything happened? Like, it's like, hey, look at us, look at the amount of people. The people have stood up. But did it make any difference?
Of course it doesn't make a difference. Well, I'll tell you exactly what it's done. First of all, I mean, it might be good in some ways because like all them people going down there, hopefully they spent a lot of money in the bars, the cafes, the restaurants, the shops, buying stuff and buying food. So hopefully that's actually trickled down to some little shops and didn't all go to a fucking supermarket, right? But, apart from that, all you've just given them is like, 3 million people's facial recognition, right? They know exactly who's gone down there, who's doing what and why you're doing it, right? Just the same thing as a petition. Oh, thank you. We're just giving us all your data. We'll click that and say that you're actually against the government. We'll keep that on side, right? So all of that, it's not only a waste of time, it's actually helping them anyway. So why not, instead of going marching, right down London and shouting at a group of empty buildings. They've all fucked off home, man. Come on. Well, they're sitting in Parliament, right? They only go there a couple of hours, go on TV, shout and scream at each other, then go and get pissed in the bar, which is free, and then go at home and do nothing, right? So why are you going shouting at empty buildings? All you're doing is like you're entertaining the police, right? You're giving them a thrill, giving them a hard on so they can go and arrest a few people and get paid loads of overtime. You know, you're completely wasting your time. What you should be doing, right? You should be queuing up at the shopping malls. You should be queuing up at the supermarkets. You should be queuing up at any office government building where you can walk in and request your data. All of you, get your 3 million people and line up outside all around the country, right? And you should all do it. In fact, I tell you what, you should make November fucking ASDA month. Everybody should be going to ASDA and just walking in and saying, I want my data. I'm not saying go and buy shit there. Don't go shop there. Walk in and say, I want my data, please. That is what they would call under GDPR Article 15, a verbal SER. Completely legal to do. Nothing wrong with it. They've took your data as soon as you walked in. You have the legal right to go and request it. If they refuse, as soon as they refuse point blank, and this is in the law, their law, right, then that is a breach and you can get compensation immediately. They're kind of getting used to it now because I've been pushing this for a long time now, right? A year, I think, I've been shouting about this. And a few more people have now started to say, oh, actually, you know, it is a good idea. Other people should be doing it. Just make it now, like the whole of November, because we've got it coming up. Everybody go to ASDA for the entire month. Just go, I want my data. You and all your friends, them 3 million people who want to go marching or whatever it would be, march to ASDA all of November and go, I want my data. I want my data. Right now, if we were all doing that, and then December, right, let's go make it Marks and Spencer's, them little scumbags, right, and go in and I want my data. Make sure you don't spend a penny in there unless you're going for a piss, right? But apart from that, right, you don't buy nothing, but you ask for your data. I want my data. Going to Marks and Spencer's, I want my data. November, we should all be doing it ASDA. December, we should all be doing it to Marks and Spencer's, right? And as soon as you're doing that, they're going to start to make an effect because one or two of you do it. And I've got loads in our group do it, but I've got people all over the country, right? So it's great that they're doing it. It's fantastic. And they're actually getting results, either annoying or even getting compensation, right? But if thousands and thousands and thousands or even millions of people were doing it, it would shut down their admin. They wouldn't be able to control it or actually work with it. They've only got 30 days to pass out the data. They must pass it under GDPR within 30 days or a calendar month. So if they've got millions going in, it's impossible. So then it's going to start costing them millions, hundreds of millions of pounds if you did it in the millions, right? How fast do you think they'd be getting rid of them cameras out them stores, making people sit on a till and going ting, ting, instead of like you having to go and do it yourself in front of the big camera, right? That's how you're going to start doing fighting facial recognition cameras. That's how you're going to actually, like, you know, start doing an effect. That is a protest that's actually going to have a result to it. Not go marching, like, you know, getting pissed down the middle of London, shouting at some empty buildings because all of the, like, MPs have buggered off to go, like, you know, get pissed at home, right? It's a waste of time. Don't go and, like, do it on a petition. Go to a supermarket. Go to a shopping mall, right? That is how we actually make a physical protest that's worth doing. Everybody can do it. Like, you know, go all of these groups that meet every week. I am a freedom group. I am a truth seeker. I am going for my sovereignty. Well, do it in fucking ASDA then, right? All in November, queue up and go, I want my data, right? All your mates stand behind you. As soon as you finish, then they step up, I want my data, right? That's how to actually do it. That's how you're going to make an effect. That's how you do marching and protesting. So do all of November go on ASDA, all of December go and do Marks and Spencer's.
No, and that would make a difference. We'd come back to the AI because, you know, like I saw obviously what you're creating, but I saw this was somebody recently I think it was on TikTok. The guy is recording it and he's saying sometimes people think they can't keep up with these big corporations because obviously it's all AI agents. And I'm sure was it for dentist? It was some big company anyway for booking something. And based on the questions he was asking the AI agent, he was able to get the prompt to actually describe how they created it. Which means he said they have spent millions creating this, but they haven't protected it, which is amazing. Just, you know, the way he actually done it. And just curious, because are the people that you're doing it, are they protecting it? Because I mean, you're investing a lot on this, and not just you, but there's other people. From looking at that, I'm not sure how many people are actually protecting. You would think you couldn't do that, but I mean, you might actually record it live, and you could hear it responding. Are they actually doing that to protect you, or is it something that you have to look at?
Well, you can, this is the thing, like with AI, right? People have got the wrong idea about AI. Okay. So, and you hear so many like things bantered about it now, and I always like relate it back to it's just a tool, right? So let's start off with that part. It's just a tool. So everyone's saying, screaming like AI is going to steal your job. AI is going to kill you. AI is going to like run your life. Okay. AI is just a tool. So they probably said that about like, you know, like a tractor once it started like pulling a plow. They're probably thinking, oh, now I'm not going to have a job as a plowman. Well, I think I'd rather be on a tractor plowing than pushing it myself with a couple of oxen or whatever they were called, you know. And that's just advancement. But you know, AI is literally just a tool and you can use it in any way you want. And it's just the same as a kitchen knife. You can either go and chop up your vegetables to make a nice meal, or you can go and stab somebody and kill them. It's not the tool that's the problem. It's the end user that's actually using it in whatever way they want. And AI is the same. So everyone's saying like, you know, oh, AI is going to take your job. No, whoever learns how to use AI correctly is going to take a job. So just somebody else is going to take it, not the AI itself. They're going to create something to actually replace you, right? Now you can put prompts in. So part of what we did when I was in Austin, Texas, what happened was we didn't go to a hotel, we didn't go to a conference center. These people have changed the sort of like way they work now, and so you know, I mean, a lot of these were like, you know, billionaires. You know, it's so they hired this great big luxury villa on the outskirts of Austin, Texas. Massive gardens, swimming pools, you know. I mean, they were like playing pool and darts and everything, you know, and all these games, you know, nighttime. The people that would run the event, they lived in the villa for the week. We went there into the big dining room and the living room, and it was comfortable to run a conference. They filmed it, they screamed it, they actually live streamed it out as well, right? Going out to like their group of people, and we were obviously live going doing it. And there was several different events. It wasn't just one event. So part of that event was like to become a certified master prompter. So to run AI effectively, you need to know how to create a prompt. Now, if you can't create a prompt, you're not going to get it to work correctly. Now, I mean, I've been like building this up like for the last sort of like year, with like different groups, but this is the main one that I've been involved with. You know, and the biggest like thing that I get, like, which struck my head like a long time ago, they were saying, well, we have to get rid of the hallucinations. Like, hallucinations? What? Right? And it's, well, AI, it hallucinates, right? It's been trained in such a way that it hallucinates. And what they mean by hallucinates, it makes things up, right? It's prone to telling lies. So all these people say,
You should call it a politician show, Drew.
so there you go. But they got, it's like, you know, they go on to chat GPT and they put it, and there's, unfortunately, 99% of people are still using it like they use Google, right? They put it in as if they need to ask it. It's not about asking it questions, right? So there's certain prompts that you have to create. Now what we've done is we've actually went in and we've developed our own chat GPTs. So we don't use ones that the public use. We went in and we've built our own. So we've got them to do what we want them to do. And we teach them what we want them to tell us. In other words, how they want to give us the information. So first of all, you have to train it not to lie, not to hallucinate. You have to make sure that it doesn't make things up. And you have to tell it that, look, you have to train it. If you really can't source this and back this answer up, you're not allowed to give it. but you have to teach it how to do all this. You have to program it. You have to literally break it down, then rebuild it back up again. And you can do it on the back end of the OpenAI platform, but you have to go in and recreate the entire thing. And you have to stop it trying to be your friend as well, because it will always give you an answer because it wants to be your friend, and it'll try to be friendly and everything like that. You got to stop doing that, because it will never serve you correctly. It has to be your employee. You has to work like your employee. You are my AI agent, and you have to put these special prompts in, to make sure it does all that for you.
Just before you go on that, just for those, because not everybody is kind of deep into the AI, but what I'm seeing is it keeps prompting you to keep you engaged. So, for example, if you ask, just say I'm asking some podcasting thing, and would you like me now to do this? And you go, oh,
Yeah.
yes. And would you like me now to do this? Or would you like this? And it's just trying to keep you there the whole time.
Yeah. And you should not do what it's telling you to do. That's it, trying to engage you in its own path. So it's directing you down a path, right? So that's why you have to go in and break the entire thing down and then recreate it with what you want it to do. So, and we've got several different, in fact, we've got quite a few now, different chats made with different software to actually build it up to do what we need it to do. And if this is the thing as well, and like, say about a year ago, and I was like talking to people online and stuff, and they were saying, oh, well, yeah, I can't do an SCR, or like, I've even had people saying, like, GDPR is like belongs to us, like themselves, their group, we like, what? Like, this government, like, legislation, like, it's yours, and I said, well, don't talk shit, right? Anyone can go on to ChatGPT and say, create me an SCR, which means a subject access request under GDPR, like section or article 15. You're allowed to request your data from any corporation. Just say that to ChatGPT and it'll give you a decent one. Even now, it'll give you a decent one, right? But they've started to put things in now to make it hiccup on any legal papers. So they're trying to stop you using it. And that's why you can't rely on ChatGPT to do these types of things too well. You need to get the custom made ones that have been designed to do that, or else it will lie to you, it'll hallucinate you, and it will trip you up. And also, they've started to put things into it now where it has what they call a rule of three, which I think is just like satanically weird, because all spells have a rule of three anyway, don't they? Like when you hear the politicians, they repeat it 3 times. Build back better, build back better, build back better, build back better. 3, right? Tony Blair, education, education, education. Why is he saying it? Why not 4? Why not twice? Right? But AI's got the same thing. It will repeat terms 3 times. So if you say, create the SCR for me, or if you say, like, write me an article on the Holy Bible, right? And it repeats things 3 times. You got to know it, and that's how people can suss out AI. And it also puts little hints or little watermarks in that you can't see, the human eye can't see. So you've got to stop all of that happening. So the only way to do it is to build your own. Now, when I'm saying it, and this brings me back to the point you're saying, right? This group I was with, obviously, like, what they do is they actually, a lot of them are the ones that have made the agents or made the AI apps. That's all it is. There's an AI app. But at the end of the day, it's software, right? Just highly trained software to work for these companies. Say the airlines, right, that are booking the tickets, or say the dentists, which are booking the appointments. It's up to them if they put the secrets in or not. Now, if they're not requested to put the secrets in, they won't put the secrets in. So when you're creating your own app and you're creating your own prompt, so we spent, like, I mean, it might not look like a lot, but like 2 days of how to create apps, prompts. So master prompting to create a master prompt, and then how to actually be able to use that to give to another piece of AI that will build an AI agent or an AI app. So, and there's obviously a lot getting made out now, like that ChatGPT has its own AI app builder, and it will have, right, but it will still make it its own way if you don't control it with the master apps that you should create on private chat. Okay, like, I mean, where I say private, I mean one you've developed, right? If you use theirs and it's all owned by open AI, then they are going to control all of it, and they won't put the secrets in. It'll be open. So somebody could go in and, you know, I'm not saying that somebody that's a genius won't be able to hack your secrets, because we see that, you know, they've went breached, like, even, you know, the defense, you know, system in the US, you know what I mean, which I reckon is pretty secure, but some teenager went and hacked into it and arrested him, you know, so it happens. But, you know, if you don't build in your secrets, then, you know, what we mean by is like hiding your master prompt, then anyone could, if they backtracked it, reversed engineer it, get to that prompt, you know, to find out how that was built. And then recreate it. But in reality, all you would have to do is spend a week going through and questioning any AI agent, be it like, you know, buying an airline ticket or like booking a dentist. And if you knew how to build an app, right, then you'd be able to build it and replicate it easily. It's, you know, it's what they call a workflow. It's very basic. You know, how it will work from one. You might think that it's brilliant because it's talking to you and it's saying, right, it's okay, now we understand that you wanted your teeth whitening, so we're going to actually put you into this queue. And then the next thing is like, well, here's your list of appointments when's convenient. Brilliant. Here's your, and then we'll send you an email. It's all very easy stuff, you know. But if you take it right back to the beginning, and where we're talking about the master prompts, that is where the genius lies. And then you can also build your secrets around that, and then that will protect your own AI bot, or your AI agent, whatever it is, or your AI app that you're trying to actually create.
And the thing is, I'm not sure if we touched on it, but it pushes. I mean, I've worked with a few different ones now, ChatGPT, U.com, which is a load of them. There's Perplexity, there's a lot of different ones. But when I talk about like the poison dart, and I ask about different information, it keeps pushing how safe it is. And then I go, yeah, but Edward Jenner, the guy that kind of created this, was, you know, proved that he just made it up. And I give all examples. Yeah, that's correct. So it actually acknowledges what I've just fed it, and it just pushes, you should still get it, which means there's a hidden agenda. And that's not just in the jab, that's in the chemtrail, that's in a load of things. And then people think by asking these things, it's like a Google search, and they're playing the recording of the AI talking to it as if it's God talking to them and it's 100% gospel. And people are really fooled with that. And it's very dangerous.
Yeah, but it's just the same, you know, it's the indoctrination though, isn't it? You know, they've went through, you know, 12 to 15, well, if they went to university, like 25 years of indoctrination, you know, to actually make sure that they are complete robots and puppets of the system. And filtering down, even if it's just like from school, you're just that indoctrinated that these people are now, it's like AI, and it's not AI, it's Chat GPT. It's like the most basic version of AI that you can get, unless you go out and retrain it to do what you want it to do, literally break it down, destroy it, and rebuild it in the back end. Then it's going to tell you whatever it wants to, or what the government wants to tell you. And it's not facts at all. It's like, it's the narrative that you're actually needing to follow at the minute, you know, right? So everybody wants to get up in arms about, like, you know, immigration, and, you know, like, it's never happened before. Oh, wow, really? Okay. You know, I mean, it's just insane. It's getting fed, you know, to be the narrative. And it's just the same. Google is the same, and the AI systems that they're setting in are the same. You know, that, like ChatGPT and Grok and all of them, unless you break them down and reverse them and reverse engineer them in the back end to do a job for you, then they're going to lie to you. Simple as.
Like my son went into Grok and said, which is the best car? And it said Tesla. You know, so just straight away you're going, all right. You're talking about an app, so because I know in the SKOOL group you've got one, and it's just specific to a certain thing. and you actually tell that so people could go in and ask a question related to that topic. With the app then, is this something that's not in the school group and it'll be open to the public and maybe pay for the service, or what's the whole kind of plan for this?
Yeah, very soon. Yeah, which will be, I can't say too much about it because because until it's launched, because there's so much work gone into it. I have literally pulled it apart and rebuilt it several times. Now is probably the best looking, the best organized, the best information, and the best setup. So, I mean, this one, for my annoyance, my bugbear, is it's all about private parking companies. The actual law, or what I mean by law, don't you? The statutes and everything, but the way that they've actually, developed this industry from nothing. And now instead of being able to go to a cinema, go to the gym and park up and go and, what I mean, go and watch a movie or go and do some weight training, you got to go paid for car park, even though, you might have an hour free or half an hour free or 2 hours free, 2 minutes over, it's 100 quid, right? €100, like, what, you know what I mean? So, and the way that the business is set up is a complete and utter scam, which, most of them are, but this is one of the worst ones. So I've devised a system that will tell people, first of all, is that because this is divided, the country is divided into certain parts of land, right? You have relevant land and non-relevant land. So you have to know what you got your ticket from. Was it relevant land or was it non-relevant land? Now, I deal with hundreds of people every single day that are saying, I've got, and they always say, I've got a parking fine. I went, no, you haven't. You've got a charge from a private company. They're saying you breached the data. It's not a fine. I've even had others, like what they call themselves, like sovereign groups or truth groups and common law groups are saying it is a fine, still a fine, you got to pay it. It's a contract, right? It's a breach of contract. It's not a civil fine. It's an argument between two entities, right? Even you, what they're doing, it's not you, the flesh and blood anyway. They've actually given it to the straw man or the legal fiction, your corporation in full capitals is what they've actually given the charge to. It is not a fine. So what they're saying is you breached the data. You breached the contract. But what contract? When did you ever sign a contract? Now, I mean, it's such like the argument that is very complicated if you look at it in one way, but very simple in the other way. And I've got such an amount of case law that were backed up with it, years of research. It isn't just GDPR. It's actually looking far into equity, which we are come from a common law jurisdiction. So we have an equitable jurisdiction as well, runs concurrently, and equity stands above common law or statute. So this will actually do, the app will decide and take you through a path. It'll find out if you have relevant land or non-relevant land. I mean, what does that even mean? And this is what people don't get. There's like relevant land, right? Only applies to England and Wales. No land in Scotland or no land in the north of Ireland is relevant. It's all classed as non-relevant land. Now, this all comes down to lobbying, lots and lots of money, and Theresa May. Okay? So going back to 2012, when they created this lovely act called the Protection of Freedoms Act, 2012, which sounds amazing. Who wouldn't want the freedoms protected? Of course I want my freedoms protected. So how comes then that like this Protection of Freedoms Act means that you can keep giving me all these charges then? How does that protect my freedom? It's just a nonsensical term, the same as, the online, what is it it's called? The protection online for children, protect the children, the online act or whatever it is. It's all about control. It's got nothing to do with protecting anybody. It's absolute insanity. But on the Protection of Freedoms Act, what they do is on relevant land, they can miss out who's responsible for this actual charge and go straight to the keeper. Right? So it doesn't matter if you've been driving it or not. as soon as they actually send out the letter that said, "Oh, you were 2 minutes over, it's £100, or we're going to take you to court because you've breached our terms and conditions." First of all, they're not the landowner, right? You need to see the contract that actually allows them to do that, because they've just rented it. They've went and rented the car park. But if it's on the relevant land, then where was the contract created? But the app will actually help you go through all that and show you all of the law, the case law, right, and how it's actually created, which comes under contract law, English contract law, how you actually create it, also under equitable principles, which is complicated to a degree, but as soon as you've got used to it and you can read the little bits that apply to you, then it's not so bad. But that can actually take you through to challenge them and say, well, all right, if that's the case, then let's get to prove it well before you get to a court. And then if it does get to court, go to court with this case law and the case that we could create for you, or the app will create for you. And if we reverse it and go on to non-relevant land, they're not allowed to give it to the keeper at all. So what is non-relevant land? Well, like I've said, the whole of Scotland is non-relevant land. The whole of the North of Ireland is non-relevant land. So they're not allowed to give it to the keeper in any way, shape or form. And then in England and Wales, non-relevant land is an airport, a train station, or a port to get a ferry, a ship, whatever. So if you've ever had a ticket, and we get hundreds of people every week, oh, I was at the airport, I got a charge, or they always say I got a fine, and so it's non-relevant. Don't worry about it. Just write back and just tell them, say, well, can you identify the driver, please? Because we can't. I'm not telling you, I'm not saying, oh, they'll run away and go, hey, I'm so sorry. They'll lie. They've got this habit of lying, have debt collectors and parking pirates. They've got these habits of telling lies. But if you stand your ground and say, well, okay, well, just tell them point blank, right? That, well, you're talking about the Freedom of Protections Act 2012 on Schedule 4. It actually says, is it relevant or non-relevant land? Now, I know I've been on the airport, which is non-relevant land. Therefore, the keeper cannot be held liable. It has to be the driver. Can you identify the driver for me? Because we have no idea who is driving. If you can identify the driver, then fine, we'll give you the address. If we haven't, then there's nothing we can help you with. End of story.
Is
Right.
this just for common law areas, or what's the situation in the rest of Europe and, say, the USA?
I don't even think that they've got what do you call it, a Freedom of Protection, Protection of Freedoms Act anyway. So whatever happens in Europe, I have no idea. I've never looked at any other parking apart from in the UK. So they're very specific. They've got that Protection of Freedoms Act that Theresa May got paid millions of donations for, to make sure it went down to put in the keeper. And they used some excuse. Well, it protects against fraud from people getting away with driving without consent. What? Right? Yeah. I mean, how many people say, can I borrow the car, mom? Can I borrow the car, dad? I have to go drive. You know what I mean? Of course you do. Right? So you got your family driving the car all the time, and that it's that's just a nonsense thing. But what it meant, it went straight to the keeper, and then one of my friends, Dan, right, and he is part of our group, but he's not in the group. If you want to think, he's kind of an admin side, right? He had a 4-year fight with the DVLA on this, because when it first started, they actually set that up because all of these car parking companies, these parasitical pirates, right, they have got access to DVLA. They don't have to call or write to DVLA. They're actually already in the website. They just go and click on it and they get your details immediately. But, right, DVLA said that they had to do that because it was their lawful duty, as if somebody parking had committed a crime. Now, it took Dan 4 years in the courts fighting DVLA to get rid of them saying it's a lawful duty. So now the only thing they can say is, yes, we do supply still, but only under a public task. Now, that might not sound like a lot, and you ever dealing with any councils or council tax or anything, and you'll hear them say it's a public task. We'll have to give your data to a debt collector because it's our public task. It's a public task, right? Which is nonsense. But on the fact, if you look under the term public task, they only are allowed to provide your data, the DVLA I'm talking about specifically here, to the debt collector, right? If they can 100% guarantee and prove themselves that there was a legitimate interest to do so. How could they ever know that there was a legitimate interest to do so? You're talking about ANPR, right? Which is the automatic cameras, like they're taking it, like loads and loads of cases where they've taken pictures of people who never even went in the car park, right? We've got them where they've parked in laybys outside and they've still issued tickets and they didn't even go in the car park. They took the cameras, just take it automatically. They've got it. They went in the car park, stayed 10 minutes. Then they've got tickets there that they've been in for 3-4 hours. It fails regularly. So there's nobody could ever guarantee that there was ever a contract. However, if you think about the Road Traffic Act itself, right, we all know, right, and I know lots of people who've actually had fines and convictions for this offence of driving without due care and attention. So it states on the Road Traffic Act and the Highway Code that you must be given due care and attention whenever you are operating a moving vehicle. That's correct, isn't it? So when you're driving into these car parks, they say that you read this sign, right? And as you read that sign, it means you've made a contract. How can you read a sign and pay due care and attention to a moving vehicle at the same time? That is a physical impossibility. Now, if you have stopped paying due care and attention, you're not watching where the vehicle goes, and you're driving even 10 miles an hour, and you try and read all that small print on that tiny little sign, right? You're going to smash into something or hit somebody because it's a public car park with people getting out, pedestrians going into wherever, right? So you can't read the sign. And if you did, you've committed an offence. Now, contract law and equity both state you cannot have a contract that relies on an offence to be committed to create that contract. That makes the contract null and void from the beginning. So going back to the DVLA, how could they know at all that there was a contract created if we know if you read that sign while you're driving and moving a vehicle, operating a moving vehicle, you've committed an offence, which has voided any contract that you could have made anyway. Right? So the DVLA should not be giving anybody's data away, even under public task, because they cannot prove and they cannot rely on their own conscience, if they had one, that there was a created contract. So the app, this is all built into the app, right? All of this knowledge that I'm spouting out at 100 miles an hour, but this is all built into the app, all of this actual knowledge. And we get the arguments all the time, you know. It's, oh, well, that's nonsense, because what you can do is you can park your car and you have what they call, and the car parking companies, you got 10 minutes, which is the lie, by the way. You try doing that at a hospital, right? But if you park your car, then you can go and read the sign. All right. Well, here's the terms and conditions. As soon as you enter the car park, you've created a contract. That's what they say. But you can't read it. We know you can't read it because you'd be breaking the law, committing a driving offence to actually read it. So you drive in without reading it, right? So when you park up and then you go and read it, it's called new terms and conditions because you've already created a contract according to their terms and conditions. So now these are new terms and conditions. To input new terms and conditions into any contract, it makes the original contract null and void, contract law and equity. Okay, so it can't be a contract. So it's a double jeopardy. And if they don't believe me, then they can go research it and look under Thornton versus Shoe Lane Parking Limited, right? And it states there, it was a different version because he got it on his ticket. New terms and conditions on his ticket. When I'm not paying it, you've given me new terms and conditions according to the sign. But it's the same thing. If you can't read the sign, which you can't, it's illegal. Then you go and park and read the sign. That's new terms and conditions. They say you've already created a contract. So you're reading new terms and conditions, which finishes the contract, makes it void. So DVLA cannot promise at all that there's any terms and conditions. And again, just on the next argument that everybody says, because I get this, keyboard warrior bullshit on all of the platforms. They said, but it's private land, you know. How can you be like under the Road Traffic Act on private land? It may be private, but it's public use, right? It's open to the public. It's got public access. It's got public pedestrians walking in there as well. It's completely under the Road Traffic Act and the Highway Code, even though it's on private land. How do we know? Because we've also got case law for that as well. DPP versus May, M-A-Y, like Theresa, ironically, but not her, right? Then it states there that you're still under the Road Traffic Act. You can't say you caught me drunk driving like in the car park, but it's private land. No, it's still maintained by the Road Traffic Act. Therefore, you have to pay attention, due care and attention when you're operating a moving vehicle.
Kind of touched on other kind of groups, common law groups, all these sovereign groups and everything. I mean, like I've read loads of books. I've looked at a lot of groups. Both yourself and Peter Stone, I think, are the best that I've ever come across. You know, just what you're doing and how you're helping with people. But unfortunately, there's some of these. I forget the one in Scotland now, and there's people kind of caught them out, the Common Law Society or something like that, and they were trying to have peace officers and everything. There's a lot of these groups, and they're encouraging people to do things, and they're actually causing so much harm because people are assuming, or they're selling them stuff as if like you buy this and now you become a sovereign citizen. They're selling them documents and ID cards and all this kind of stuff. And there's another one that I came across as well, and this was like a world passport. And I know you touched on, but you just kind of said you didn't know much about it. But when I looked at that, it's like this world passport thing. It's like you can't go anywhere with it. So they're selling it for a couple of $100, and it sounds like, oh, this is great. I get out of their system, but nobody accepts it. And I mean, you've obviously come across a lot of these kind of charlatans, let's call them. But the problem is there's people investing heavy money. And not only that, but they're going down the wrong path, and they actually get in worse trouble than if they had just done it normally.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I remember you talking about the world passport, but I've never actually seen it. You know, as that. I mean, the only one that I know will resemble that was that one that's called the New World Alliances, which was like had the diplomatic pass. Now I used that and it worked, and then several of my group used that to travel on, not as a passport. You had to have your passport, but you know, during like lockdown, right? We had them traveling abroad without having to have any nonsense on, without having to have anything taken or anything, and it worked. And that's when I ended up going into we were talking about like Little Mouse, my dog, and when I went to pick him up, you know, and he was so terrified, and you know, and I had to pick him up to put him in the car, and he bit me. He actually nearly tore my thumb off, right? So I ended up like having to get into hospital, and you know, they wanted me to put masks on and try to test me and everything. Went, no, I'm not part of that. And I showed them that diplomatic pass. So I'm protected on the diplomatic pass. I don't have anything to do with that stuff, that COVID nonsense. And they accepted it. I got put in a private room. You know, I was wandering around the hospital on my own. I could hear them shouting at people like, get that mask on. You stop walking. I just went anywhere I wanted. Nobody looked at me, spoke to me, said anything to me at all. You know? So, you know, and that worked. But it wasn't a passport to travel anywhere. It was just to protect you when you were traveling or if you got into them situations. I mean, and they're still knocking about. So if you've ever heard of them, you should check it out. And that guy that runs it is called Sir. He's a Sir Larry Swart, right? But yeah, I mean, all I can say is I know that members of our group traveled to Fuerteventura. Like some went to France, another one went to Malaysia, you know, and you know, showed that. And Malaysia was a little bit rougher, and they did actually say, well, you've got to have the mask, but you don't have to wear it. As long as you take it off us. Okay, thank you. Put that in my pocket. You know what I mean? But like it still got away with quite a lot. So I mean, and that did work. And it did sort of like make people stop reading and give you sort of like a bit of a step back. So, but if for to actually be used to travel anywhere, I've never seen that one. I have heard people saying it, but I've never seen that yet. So I'll have to go and have a search for that one. But yeah, you have to be careful about what you
because you mentioned about on the flying and stuff like that. There was someone I know, they went to India and as they landed, they walked through the cabin spraying. And I've seen a few videos now where they're doing that a lot more often. I mean, that's toxic shit they're spraying. How do you get out of that? Because I mean, if you're on a plane, you don't want it. Like even if I go into a shopping mall or whatever, and I pass one of these perfume places, I straight away get a sneeze attack because it's toxic. But they're spraying this, and that's going into your lungs. How do you stop that?
Well, yeah, I've never ever seen it myself, and I certainly didn't see it even when I went, to Texas. But I got like this guy that I've listened to quite a bit. He's called. He lives in Mijas, just not far from where we lived, literally on the other side of the mountain where we lived in Alarin, El Grande. So he's very spiritual. Talks about, and like Janine buys a lot of crystals and stuff like that. So we listened to him out of interest of where lived next to us. But he was on a plane going to Bali, but whatever, however,
Yeah.
And somebody in the airline had been talking to him and said, "You got to watch because when they land, they're going to come through and spray." So he actually had a full, nearly a military style gas mask. So when they were coming into land, he put it on. So everyone was looking at him. They're all like terrified, like, what the hell? And then they started spraying all the plane with this stuff, which, well, nobody probably knows what it really is. Not even the ones spraying. I bet you they don't know what it is either. So he wore that until he got out of the plane and then just took it off. But I bet you this is the weird thing, because he's now trying to protect his lungs and his health, so he's putting a mask on, right? And then back in a few years ago, they were forcing everyone to wear masks that wouldn't have helped you no matter what. It was just a little paper thing, and that was normal. Though everyone can look like a total bellend and walk around like that, but you put a real mask on that's going to protect you from that poisonous spraying, and they give you funny looks. So, but that's the only time that and I know they did it to him and coming back. The same thing. He wore it like there and back. So I know that it does definitely happen. But I think it just must be in either some certain airlines maybe, or definitely in some parts of the realm, but not everywhere.
I did an episode on the digital IDs, and I know that's big now in the UK. And the thing is, I've got the Estonian e-residency, and I realized, all right, I'm already part of the system. But in Ireland, we use mygov.ie or whatever. So anything to do with revenue, you can't ring them. There's like 2 hours, 3 hours that you can ring them 2 days a week. So eventually, yeah, nobody's answering, and they say, "Oh, please hold," and then we have no available operator. So you have to go in and log yourself. And that's the Irish way of getting us into the digital ID. So I reckon a load of us are actually part of this already. But how are you seeing the way they're kind of pushing it in the UK? Because I've seen stuff in China where, like, the scoring and it's related. So you get all different answers, and people saying, "No, that's not true, that's not true." But I've seen a lot of stuff where they're basically saying people can't buy stuff, they can't rent stuff. You just get a low rating because everything is tracked on you. And it looks like they're pushing this big time now in the UK. So one, where is it currently? And two, how do you get out of this shite?
This is the thing, right? I mean, I've got like a neighbor here, and she went and spent the summer in China. And she's, it brings me back to two things. Her, first of all, but it was only a summer. And she said that speaking to people there, and they didn't know anything that they were talking about. It's like, never heard of anything like that, credit scoring, or like not being able to do things and having like a card or your palm or your eyes, and then you couldn't rent or couldn't buy. And like the cost of living is so easy and so cheap there. And everybody was so friendly, so safe. There was no homelessness. There was no begging. There's no street violence. Like what you see in like, the UK towns of London or anything like that. You wouldn't want to go there. Right. But like, so it's hard to say. And she said, it's just like, no, people just don't know that. Never heard of that. It's like, it's just like they don't get it at all. So it makes you wonder, which again brings me to this guy that I've followed for quite a while. He was American, and he left and went to live in Russia. And, he'd done like a podcast basically of like how shocked he was about what the propaganda and the lies and everything like that they've actually said about Russia and Russia itself. just like such an easy place to live, so cheap to actually live there. The food, is like they've got their own type of food, obviously, you know what I mean, their version of everything. But nothing like a credit score system, but everything clean, streets clean, no homelessness, everything very safe. Not like you've got like in the likes of the UK or London or anything like that. And there's just very, very, very little crime, that like normal street crime or anything like that. It costs them next to nothing to live in a lovely apartment. Yeah, it just makes you, everything's a lie. It's like the propaganda is ridiculous. But bringing it back to the ID here, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we've all been tracked by the government for decades anyway. Anybody that's got a passport, it's got a chip in, it's got a biometric chip in, the passport itself. Your driving license for at least the last 15 or so years comes from the passport. So it's linked. So it's the same photograph, right? So it's coming from a biometric picture. Most people that I know didn't even get the photograph taken for the driving license because you already had it on file. So if that's not like a digital ID, what is? So I mean, I don't want anyone to get even more in the system, right? But have it sit back and think about it as well. You already know you're in, and I do think we should like put up like resistance about it, but again, don't sign a petition because you're actually giving them your data. That's stupid. Don't go in March because then you're giving them your biometric data with all the facial recognition, right? Instead of queuing up at the facial recognition cameras complaining and asking for your data, right? You're marching them and letting them take it. But they've already got so much of it already anyway. Try and do it so that you can play Checkmate the Matrix, right? Being able to step in and out of the system when it's needed and when it's not needed. I did notice, hang on, joking here. If you want to do anything now, passport wise, you've got to either go through, like what you just said, trying to ring up or queue up for hours and hours and hours and hours. You can do it, right? And then you'll get your passport done, like at a post office, or you'll get something done at a post office. If you want to do it online, you have to log into their system now. You have to have a biometric login now already. So like anybody who wants to get any kind of government services, benefits, or anything like that, there isn't even going to be a way of getting them without giving the biometric of one type or another, right? So the digital ID, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? It's madness, in that sense. But I don't think it's going to go as what everybody is so scared about. But I also think, you can actually do things in such a way where you can, it's the same thing. You wear your public hat, you wear your private hat. You will be able to dip in and out of it. You just have to learn a better game, learn how to play a better game of chess in this game of sovereignty, you want to call it, or life, or whatever it is you want to think about, and being able to work it within the system. One way or another, they've already got it. And everyone's on Facebook giving away all their data. They're all on TikTok giving away all their data, right? They're digitally registered everywhere. So they've already done it voluntarily, right? On every single piece of social media that they've went and sprouted out, and they've tell everybody, what size shoes to wear, how many people have had sex with, what they're eating for the tea. They've done all that. They've already given all that information up. So like, they've already lost and got the digital ID anyway. So, this might be like an extra little layer to it, but they voluntarily gave it all away decades ago.
And even because a lot of people, I mean, there's ways that we can get the blockchain technology to crypto, but most of them is like Coinbase, Kraken, all these different platforms. They all require your passport. They all require take a picture, turn left, turn right. So they have the same thing.
Yeah.
If you don't need that when you're paying, when you're buying it, it's only when you want to take out money, then they go, oh, we need your information.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, like if you try to get like into any of these, what do you call them again now? These digital exchanges, crypto exchanges, I mean, it's ridiculous now. If you haven't already got yourself involved in it, I don't think you're going to be able to, or you're going to have to bend over backwards and then forwards and take it up the backside and everything else to try and get it, buy yourself some crypto. But there is decentralized systems, and if you're already in it, that you can get involved in that decentralized systems, which is what we're going to be running at Checkmate the Matrix Live in 2026. All right, which will be back at Newcastle upon Tyne in the Biscuit Room again, and that would be over the May Day holiday, which is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of May next year, 2026. So I'll be like sending out links to all of that, very, very soon. We'll be working on the speakers with that, as well soon. So, that there itself will be partly education. We're going to have talking about gold. I mean, look at it now, right? So it's got $4,000 an ounce of gold. It's gone over $50 an ounce of silver, and so we're going to have special speakers talking about how to like use gold. It's not just about investment as well. It's about storage of your wealth. A lot of people still use a bank for storage of money. Like, why? I mean, it's the worst place in the world to put anything. And as soon as you actually make a deposit, there isn't any law in any of the banking law that says that they have to give you it back. There isn't anything. That you've literally given your money away, and it's up to them if they give you it back. And that's why they get away with so much things when it's all, we've shut the bank down. Like the whole of Cyprus shut down. There's no money. It's all gone. Northern Rock, 2007, 2008, boom, shut. It's all gone. Where's your money? I don't know. Lost it. It's you give them your money. It's not yours. You should be storing it in physical gold or silver. And we will have a guy talking about that. We'll also have a guy talking about like the decentralized versions of the cryptocurrency, that you can also be a storage of your money. So it isn't just about, oh, I need to go and invest and make money. It's not about that, right? It's about protecting what is yours already. And talk about biometric or digital ID. You're giving it into a bank. You're literally making that digital IDs. Now they've took it all. They've took all of your money that you put in there, and they don't have to give any of it back. So if you're storing it in alternatives, then that's what you want to be looking at. Decentralized or physical, right? Physical gold, silver, or, a decentralized platform where you don't have to go and, get asked 3,000 questions just because you want to take 50 quid out for the Saturday night.
There's a friend of mine that, because I use the Revolut because the currency exchange is very good and it's instant, but you see a lot of stuff online about people not happy. But I think when you kind of know and you don't put too much money into it, Wise is good as well. But he tried to open a Revolut and a Wise, and because he's kind of out of the system, they said, oh, we need a month. He was like, a month? And then after that, we need more. 3 months later, they said no. And I've heard of that with a few people. So some people try to get out of the system, or the same with, I mean, I tried to, the banks here to get it that it's like not the all capitals, that it's not the corporate entity as such, that, the living soul, Roy. No, you can't do that either. It's like, and it's strange that it's like they know who's in the system and who's stepped out of the system, because they're like, no, don't give them an account. And that's great if you're like using cash, because I try to use cash as much as often. But unfortunately, there's 50, maybe a higher percentage of the time, like if you're paying for Zoom, if you're paying for this, you can't just say, where do I send my cash? Like, so you need to have electronic money. And it's very hard when you try to, because I think you're dead right. I mean, that's the way I do it. Two hats, you step in and you step out. And when they try to come after you, try to take money out of your pocket, you use the living soul and they back off. But for banks, have you seen ways to overcome that? Have you seen people that have kind of managed to sort that out?
Well, I mean, the only ways, like I said, for that is having it decentralized, because you can tie a decentralized bank account to a debit card, which looks like just normal cash. But behind the scenes, it's actually a cryptocurrency that you have, which gets converted via the debit card, and you can be paying, things like your whatever it would be, StreamYard, Zoom, or whatever, and any like digital services, online services, anything like that whatsoever. I mean, you can't pay cash for things like online anywhere or anything like that. Anything done on a monthly basis, you're gonna have to use their system, you know. But again, it's like everyone's like terrified of it being like a digital ID and everything like that. I don't want one, and I'll do everything to sort of like stay away from that as much as possible. But 90% of what you're already doing is that anyway. Like, how long has it been since anybody like did not go to a hole in the wall and get some cash out? Right? I mean, you put numbers in, you put your name's all linked to that. They know everything that you're doing and spying on, right? Right. Anytime you buy anything on online or even at a shop, and you give them your card, if it's not cash, they know exactly what you're doing, who you're doing it with, what time it was, where you were. They know everything. And so, where is it? Mine's switched off. Like, but you as soon as you have that on, you don't have to be using it.
Even when it's watch switched off, I've seen a guy doing that. It's still tracking.
Of course, right?
Unfortunately,
they
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm not telling anyone to be a criminal, right? I'm not saying that whatsoever. But if you do want to try to be a criminal, throw your phone away, because this is, they know exactly where you are at any specific time. They will pinpoint, and that's how most people get sent to jail, because they know exactly where you were. And so you can't say you weren't there, because we know where you were, right? We've got like the actual GPS tracking system saying that the 3 lines, right? Which is, I'm going back up to Scotland next week, all to do with shipping, so that I can navigate the seas safely. That's what I've been doing for forever, like since I was 16-year-old, right? But now I'm actually taking it to a level where now I'm a skipper of a ship, right? So learning how to navigate, you get the GPS, or we don't. We actually use a chart. I get the chart out and I actually plot the chart to see where I am. I can look and get readings when I'm at sea, right? Or if you can't see any land, you have to get the GPS, and then you plot your actual journey where, well, not where you are, but it's where you were, right? Because you're always moving when you're at sea. But they use exactly the same system with these to know exactly where you were. So if there's a crime committed, be it like a physical crime or a murder or a drug deal gone down or whatever it is, they know you were there, because you've got the 3 lines crossing, right? They get one from that GPS signal, one from that GPS signal, and one from that one. And it crosses 3 lines, bang in the middle. That's where you were, right? At whatever time. So we know that he got murdered at that time, and there you were right in the same room, and you're saying you weren't there, right? So if you got no chance of being a criminal, yeah, if you carry a mobile phone, right? So just bear that in mind. You're tracked with everything anyway. It's just got to make sure that you actually control it rather than not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, sure. Did we cover it? But I remember that there was somebody, they got caught for tax based on their shopping loyalty card. So it's like everything is past that they start sharing all the information. And I see a lot of people trying to get out of this system as well. There's people saying you hold back your money, and based on a certain contract that was done with all the countries, that if they're using it for armaments, then you don't have to pay the tax and everything. Like, there's a lot of people trying to tell people how not to pay income tax and things like that. Based on what you have seen, I know it's a difficult one because you don't want to be saying it, but
Well,
have you seen people that can legitimately stay out of the system where they're paying a percentage of income?
I'm not saying anything. Like it's like there's I know all about the people that are saying that about like the war crimes and everything like that, and obviously I'm fully supportive of anybody standing up against genocide, and all of the war crimes that are going on. So yeah, I get all that, and we should not be supporting them. And unfortunately, the government are all bloody supporting them anyway. So, but I would not say that would work or wouldn't work. I know like a lot of people doing a lot of different things to certain degrees of success or another. So you know what I mean? It's like it's a dangerous thing to actually start talking about. and sharing information
But
about
that,
yeah,
honestly, I'm the same thing as well. Because when people ask, or even, if you're going to put it, you can't put, like, I never want to share the things that worked with me, because there was a lot of things that worked really well. Because if I put it out there, everybody starts using it and then it no longer, they'll figure out a way of stopping it. And
exactly.
if it doesn't work for somebody, then you've somebody trying to sue you saying, hey, he put this out. So we're in it's very hard to navigate the system. I think the way you're doing it in your school group and everything, you're just kind of giving people the tools and letting them take the sovereignty into their own hands, or whatever you call the freedom to deal with yourself. And we all kind of choose our own battles, and nobody's saying, okay, this is exactly what you do, because nobody can say that, because every area, even city, you could be in Newcastle, and they'll do it totally different down in Cornwall or wherever it is. It's like,
Yeah.
so you have to I think you just have to take responsibility yourself and kind of figure out how to navigate.
But that's the whole thing anyway, being sovereign, isn't it? It's like you looking after your own affairs, you taking care of your own affairs. That's what being a man or a woman is. That's what being like a man or a woman standing as a sovereign under the creator. That's how you do it. That's how you run it. And anyone says, well, that's against the law. So, well, only the law that you state, but like my law is the law of the creator, and there's no other greater law than that. So, but in reality, nobody can say, well, what you have to do if you want to stop paying your council tax, right? Right. I do not know a single group that's had any success, not one single case where they've had the council go, oh, sorry, we'll stop doing that then, and we'll never bother you again. We're very sorry. We didn't realize we were breaking a law, right? I know people who are losing their houses. I know people who are getting like made bankrupt. I know people who have got charges on their houses because they didn't pay the council tax. I know all that, right? But I don't know anybody at all that's had any success. These loads of groups, they say, oh yeah, we've had loads of success. Oh, what was it? We've had loads of success. Well, what was it? Well, we've had loads. And they can't give any because there's none, right? And that's a fact. So whenever I say anything, I never ever tell anyone to do anything. But so I tell you what I do know, right? If they're actually doing some enforcement that's not correct, then you can actually use certain regulations against them because they're breaching their own rules. That's what I show them. I definitely don't tell anyone to not do or do anything, but I do show them what the actual law is, GDPR or the contract law or whatever it might be, that can help them when they get through the enforcement process. It might help them with the enforcement side, but it doesn't get rid of whatever happened at the beginning. So, and there's a lot of people that make massive bold claims. Some of them charge a lot of money for their massive bold claims and don't stand up to anything whatsoever. I've never ever told anybody to do anything or not do anything, and all we ever do, be it like on a debt or on parking or on it, we show them what the actual rules and regulations are. And if the other side are not following the rules and the regulations, how to use it against them. And that's all you can do, really,
I
use their own rules.
Like, this is one that I've seen, and I thought it would work, but because I'm renting since 10 years or whatever, because I lost everything, and then I just didn't want to have anything because they'll just come along and just take it anyway, and it was kind of like, all right, renting is an easier option. But I'd heard of people where they change the gas meter, the electricity meter. You get a certified person that comes in, and then they can't get you because it's like all illegal, and electricity should be only 26 pence a day and all this kind of stuff. And I heard of people getting away for years, but recently I heard like they came along and they just took out the meter, and then they're saying they're going to turn it off at the road. And the thing is, it's great because, I mean, obviously the whole lot is a fraud. That, like, your energy bills can be 4 times what they were when it's still coming out of the ground. So the whole system is a fraud in you. But when people are doing this, one, if you've got children at home and you've got these bully boy debt collectors calling at the door, that could have a lasting effect on the person. Or maybe you could be the tough guy and the wife is like, doesn't know nothing about it, and she could actually ruin it. But from just listening to that, I thought this was working. But just recently, it's like they're not accepting it. They're coming in, and even your own meter, they're coming in and just taking it away and turning it off. So I'm not sure, have you seen much of that, or what's your thoughts on that one?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I did a podcast maybe last year, maybe the year before, I'm not sure, with a guy up here. He's called Andrew, and he's been, you know, fighting the system for a very long time. And also linked with a friend of his, Martin Geddes, like, it's like that's somebody who you want to talk to. And again, from up here, and just showing the corruption of the system. Now, with Andrew, I've heard every single sort of like argument about like doing this and doing that, changing your meters, not changing your meters, everything. Now, and people say, oh, they'll never cut you off. They'll never do that. They'll never dig up the road. Well, Andrew's still there today, right? He doesn't live that far from me. And they dug his road up and they disconnected the electricity, and he still has not got any electricity. He runs all of his house on generators, diesel,
which is a lot more expensive.
I have no idea, but like that's what he's been doing for like ever since, what's that, 2.5 years, something like that. So to say that they don't dig up the road is wrong. They dug up his road, they took out the connection, and he's never had a connection ever since. And so running the house, it's only electric because he actually has an auger. So they run the heating system off a auger. So they've got the wood fire. You know what I mean? So look, he still has heating, and that's not a problem. But he has no electricity apart from what he creates himself. However, when they've also cut him off, they dug the road up and took it out. Whatever they've done as well, or not done, right? And he's been complaining about this ever since. He keeps getting electric zaps. Like when he's in the shower, to parts you don't want to get zapped in, he said. So like whatever, Earth, they've obviously done something a bit weird to the Earth. It's not Earth correctly, and he gets zapped when he goes in the shower. So there's obviously something not right about that house at all now. But you got to think of these things, and like these people that go again charge a lot of money, right? Give me that, and I'll go and do this for you. Change your meter. Tell them all to F off. You've got nothing to worry about. Well, you go and have a look at the video. It's on my channel still, and you can go and speak to him. He lives in Cleveland, up northeast, and he's still fighting the good fight. But he's been to court many times trying to actually fight this corrupt system, and they just will not like let him get away with anything. And they just, again, he knows the lie and he knows it's corrupt, but he's still got no electricity, be it right or wrong. So be careful what you do. And if you do have family, kids or anything like that, then you've got to be careful, because I think if you're doing it because of you have this belief, but that could also create a lot of selfishness if you're just doing it just for you and without thinking about your children, if you're looking after children or like disabled people or elderly people or whatever it is that you have. And there's other ways of being able to deal with that as well, because what you could be looking at, which is extremely powerful, if you combine the vulnerable people, you do a vulnerable person notice, and that's what's called vulnerable person. So I'm not saying you're a person, but that's what they call it. Do a vulnerable person, so they know that the debt collectors have to act in a certain way, and it does stop a lot. Especially, let's just say that you're looking after, it can be either could be somebody who is disabled, you're the carer, right, or the parent, whatever, or they could be elderly and you're looking after them. Okay, that's still vulnerable. Anybody that's in a vulnerable position, you can file a vulnerable person notice to make sure that they know. Then also state, this is also affecting my mental health. Me caring for this disabled whatever individual, me caring for the disabled child, me caring for this elderly, whatever, that affects my mental health. So debt collector actions severely hamper my mental health. Once that gets registered, we've got proof that debt collections completely and utterly disappear. So, there's other ways of doing things if you're in a vulnerable position, rather than full out fighting. Start using like the alternatives, which is what the whole group, I know you've mentioned it, like Checkmate the Matrix, which is on SKOOL.com, right? That there shows you how to play a better game of chess. You don't have to run up and smash your head against the Roman shield wall to know you're fighting. You can learn how to do it better and sneak around the shield and attack them from behind. In other words, just learn how to play a better game of chess in this game that we're all playing on this giant chessboard. You know, there's other ways of doing it. You don't have
I
to
think people
go and
can
beat yourself to death.
even if they think they're standing up and they're beating the system, I don't think you're at peace with yourself when you're looking over your shoulder and just saying, will they call today? Will they ring today? Are they going to do something today? It's a lot better the way you're saying it, that get them away from the door, that they, you know, they're not coming anyway. And it's just learning the rules and like all the different things that's inside in that group. It's like all ways of legally going, hey, go away. And it works. And that's all it is. It's just, it's understanding. And as you say, checkmate the matrix. A game of chess, and you're just a few moves ahead of them always.
Exactly. Just like move around the board a little bit more wisely, you know. You don't always have to be the aggressor in chess. You can be defensive and still win. I mean, what I think, just like knowing the results that we've had for people, one of the greatest things is the advocacy thing. We call it like the debt defense. Sorry, the courtless debt defense. So with the courtless debt, in other words, you don't have to go to court for it, right? So what we do is we actually have what we call an advocate. So you can create an advocate, right, that will handle all of your debts for you. So it could, I mean, I know someone who's just done it in our group for a son. Our son's got like, I think they're estranged from the partner. They've got children, so he's working like all the hours God sends, and then he's trying to actually, you know, provide for the children, and you know, and he's just like under all this stress. She worked as the advocate. What she done is she used the templates that we created, right? Once we created the templates with AI, then we actually put them into the system, so they contact all of the. It doesn't have to be a debt collector, by the way. It can be a bank, credit card company, whatever, saying they're having difficulty, they can't handle it, and they go through a process. Now, this is all comes under FCA, right? It's all under the guidelines. It's all using their rules and regulations, laws, if you want to call them that. And what happens is they say, like, now you're not allowed to speak to them anymore, and they're not allowed to. And you can put a vulnerable person notice in as well, and they make sure. And what happens is any debt collection calls stop, any emails stop, any texts stop, no knocking on the door, nothing, not allowed. And they know it's not allowed, and they're not bothered by it, right? They just know it's running a system. It's how they run their business. So then they know that under an advocacy, it's very similar to what some people could call an IVA, right? But you don't get all the fees that you get with an IVA, right? Or like some people might call like other versions of it, a DRO or anything along that. That's debt management plan. But these debt management plans and these IVA companies charge fortunes. You know, you end up paying like £200, £300, £400 a month. 99% of it's going to the debt company, the IVA company, the debt management company, and like nothing's going to the actual the actual credit card company, right? But you can do the same. So they're paying the debt company, they're paying the credit card company £1 a month, the bank loan £1 a month, the catalogue £1 a month. So in other words, you're gone from £500 a month to £5 a month that you're paying out. Then you can actually keep that and don't go and spend it and go buy a new car, go on holiday or get drunk or whatever, buy loads of clothes. Keep it, let it build up to a balance, and then about 8 months later, make them an offer, right, to close off the balance. So we like, I won't say her name, but like one of our group members, and like she really helped her son. Now he's going out, he had no money whatsoever. Right now, like she's helping him with the advocacy. He's paying £1 a month to these debts. Right, he's getting a balance building up. In 6 months' time, they'll call up. They'll just say, "Look, you know, that's like a 10 grand like balance. You're getting £1 a month. It's going to take 10,000 months to actually pay that off. We're not going to be alive, right? Shall we just do like say, look, what about 10% of the balance then? I've got £1,000. I've, you know, created it from like family and friends that have helped me. I'll pay it now, and we'll get rid of the entire balance, and you get rid of all that debt. Clean your debt file, clean your credit history. It all gets gone, right? Most of the time, and well, they will have a lot of years of experience. They still go, yeah, that's great, because they're a business. Now, if it's 10 grand, right, they've probably paid about £200 for that debt, because they haven't really bought the debt. They just bought the actual spreadsheet. Okay, a data dump is what they bought. Okay, so pennies that they've paid for it. So to them, a grand, which is like 10% of the balance, is still 800 profit for nothing. So yeah, they're going to take it. And then that gets rid of it. So, it's not all about fighting in the courts. It's just about learning different ways of doing it. Now, isn't that a sweet way of doing it? Stop the text, stop the phone calls, stop the door knocking, stop the letters. No more grief. Mental health has calmed down. Everybody's nice and looking after it, and you save it up and then get rid of it in a few months as well. I mean, there's more ways, of fighting. I was going to say that horrible about cats, but I don't think it's very nice. More ways of skinning a debt collector. We should say that. I was about that. But so there's different ways of doing things, and that's a massive, massive success story. Her helping a son out like that, and they've got loads of different stories of other members that are just doing it for other family members as well. It's a great way of being able to do things. And you don't need a license to do this. It's 100% legal. You can just do it yourself. You're not saying you're regulated or you're a debt collector or anything. Just say, no, I'm an advocate and I've got a power of attorney. And like I said, we've got all the correct legal paperwork to actually do it. You just got to use our templates.
Excellent. Finally, I know we were talking about it prior to recording. It's a pet peeve of mine, and I know the same with yourself. Like with these companies or people that start emailing you, like London Real, they were unbelievable for it because they just changed the name. So it could be, Crypto at London Real, Office at London Real, LS at London Real, Brian Rose at London Real, and you unsubscribe and it's like they vamped down. And I actually missed an important message from you because you were traveling the last time and I was waiting and you had sent a few days before. I only saw it the other day because it just I unsubscribed so many times. And then I'll write to him and I'll say, look, you're charged for doing this. It doesn't matter. And I got something like 15,000 and I spent so much time to get it done. And it's just bombarded. And now I'm marking it as spam, block, but it still comes through even when I do that. And it's so frustrating because you've the same and anyone else you talk to is the same. It's like we're intentionally, our time is just blocked. And the worst thing is I know that there's potential people that want to come on the show and things that are really interesting and it just goes and it's gone. It's so frustrating.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But, I mean, I spent quite a bit of time, I think about 6 months ago. I thought I'm going to have a concerted effort of just like unsubscribing. Most of them you think, hang on, I've never heard of you before anyway, So like you unsubscribe, but obviously I have no proof of this whatsoever, but I feel, and looking at my inbox, as soon as you unsubscribe, they must have a system going, so it's a real email. Right, so they just go change the actual company name or the email name that they start sending you even more emails, because it's live then. They've actually unsubscribed. Somebody's behind that one. Let's go send them a lot more gumpy email. So yeah, I literally got my finger on the delete button. It's just like I do about 100 a day, just delete. I just ignore all of them. I don't unsubscribe anymore because I think it makes it worse, and I never subscribe to anything. Yeah, it's the thing, I don't go, I want to have some more makeup there, like, get some hair gel, you know what I mean? It's like the amount of stuff coming through, it's, you know what I mean? It's just nuts. But yeah.
The only thing that, because there was because I have the 6 podcasts and I just get bombarded and I'll say, look, I'm not interested or whatever. And they'll just keep, and the only thing that I saw that worked was I went into Trustpilot and I started giving a bad review. And next they're reaching out going, hey, sorry about that, and please take it down. And I just said, no, because I never subscribed to this, and you start doing it. And I said, then you might start respecting people. And that worked with a few people. But so I've learned, even though it's a bit of time, I've learned that once somebody is a scammer or anything, we have a bit of power going into Yelp, going into Trustpilot, going into Google reviews. And it does, like I've done it on London, I've done it on a few of them. And usually that makes it stop.
Right. I will have to try that one then. Have a look. Like, so, hey, I'm definitely not into hair gel products, like that's for sure. I thought, yeah, it's amazing the stuff comes through, like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, hang on a second, I didn't subscribe to all of this stuff. So yeah, I think I was ready to have a look at Trustpilot or whatever it is and start putting up some naughty reviews. Sure, look what they've done to me hair with that gel.
No, brilliant. Listen, Peter, as always, thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll make sure I put the SKOOL group and all the other links that you've got. And next day we can talk about your Newcastle thing. Because as you're getting speakers, we can actually bring in, I mean, each month you're coming in. So any of the listeners, I mean, you just go into awakeningpodcast.org. If you've got questions, just write in and make sure I'll cover it. But listen, as always, thoroughly enjoyed it, Peter.
Yeah, me too. Been great. Been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you find everything. Scan the QR code or go to roycollin.com. If you're looking for virtual assistants, go to va.world. And as mentioned, all Peter's links are in the show notes. Until next week, take care.